An endeavor to camp on a lighthouse ended up being far riskier than I could have imagined. This is how it unfolded.
We are heading out for what I hope will be an overnight adventure on a lighthouse. I am unsure on how this is going to work out, but I did my best to try to prepare, try to pack everything I needed. I hope this is going to work, man. Right now we're in KAYAK Cove, just outside of Boston. Nice area to launch. I used a boat ramp, made it nice and easy. It's going to be a fairly long journey to get out there, about 3 miles. I'm hoping it'll happen within an hour here. The lighthouse in question, well, I guess it's not even a lighthouse. It's called Minot Light. There's no house attached. There's not even an island attached. It's literally just jutting straight out of the ocean. Really cool. What a beautiful day out here on the water. I already see the light out there. It's looking pretty far away. I have really been enjoying my stay out here in New England, and it just would not be complete without trying to camp on a lighthouse. They are so iconic to the area here. When people picture New England, a lot of times they picture a lighthouse, so definitely had to make this happen. Version 1 of this lighthouse was originally built in 1850. There's a really dangerous underwater ledge here that was responsible for many shipwrecks and unfortunately cost many people their lives. Eventually they decided to build a lighthouse, and it's probably a good thing that they did. I'm sure at this point it's saved countless lives and is now an iconic symbol of the area. But notice how I said version 1. Unfortunately, less than a year and a half later, a major storm was sweeping through the Boston area, and the next day all that remained of the lighthouse was 3 pilings sticking out of the water. The 2 lightkeepers who lived on the lighthouse and were responsible with its upkeep unfortunately perished. But a major lesson was learned on the construction of this light. Work on the second lighthouse was completed by 1860, and it was much stronger. Built out of stone and much more securely anchored to the ledge underwater, this one has stood the test of time. Now here's a little fun fact. There's actually a whale carcass floating about 8 miles directly off of the shore, same direction that I'm going. And it has attracted a family of great white sharks that are currently feasting on it. Hey, but this lighthouse is only 3 miles out there, so it's not too close. Now I'm confident we're gonna make it out to the lighthouse with no problem, but getting up there and hoisting up all the gear, that's gonna be another story. If you've seen a lot of my other adventures, you probably hope that by now I learned to carry rope, and yes, I did. Plenty of rope this time. It's about 50 feet. I am hoping that'll be enough. My backup plan, if we're somehow not able to camp on the lighthouse, will probably involve climbing these rocks right here. Hope it doesn't have to come to that. But we've probably got about a mile left to go, so let's not waste any time. I just get the strongest stench of fish right here. Whoa. Yeah, I'm staying away from those rocks, that's for sure. What an incredible looking lighthouse. I am looking at that water and I'm trying to gauge if it's safe or not. It is not looking good. Yeah, I do not think this is gonna work out. Maybe if I came when the seas were completely calm, this might have worked. Not to mention, look, that's a good 3 feet to get up to the first rung. Imagine me trying to stand up on the kayak, trying to climb that ladder. As much as I wanted to make this happen, I cannot take an unnecessary risk here. So I think we're gonna have to turn around and head back to one of those islands. That would have been pretty foolish if I would have actually attempted that with the current conditions here. So it's starting to be a lot of water in this kayak here. Yeah, I'm just trying to evaluate this island here, see if it's gonna make a good candidate. Looks like we got a fishing boat maybe trying to check in on me here. It is getting kind of dark. That is just gorgeous, man. Okay, well, I've been looking around trying to identify some potential islands that we can camp on. I feel like that one right there to the right of the house. I think that might work. I think it's big enough. We will see. Thankfully, I timed this trip up with the shifting tides in mind. We ended up making it to the lighthouse right at slack tide. Now we have an incoming tide, so if anything, we're just gonna get pushed back to land. I think the tidal range around here is around 11 or 12 feet. You know, a big difference in water level. That's why I'm being so picky on what island I pick. Trying to look at the high water line and pick an island that's gonna stay high and dry. All right, I'm trying to creep up around the backside of the island here. So right up there, hopefully that is where we're gonna be camping. I think this will work, but we just gotta be so careful walking around these rocks, carrying the kayak, carrying all the gear. All right, well, I think this is gonna work. It's just gonna be a long trek over all these rocks to make it happen. Gotta do what we gotta do. Wow, I gotta just take a second and admire this sunset. That is just absolutely gorgeous. You know, first I'm just gonna see what walking around here is like. This is really tough, man. It's so slippery already, let alone carrying gear in a kayak. All right, let's start making our way up there. I'm gonna try to do this in 3 trips if I can. Wow, this is far. Oh boy. All right, got the first load dropped off. Let's head on back down there. Man, I am like a pack mule right now. I'm just carrying as much as I can here. Whew. Ooh. Trip number 2 complete. Now let's go back and get the kayak. I think I'm gonna move it a little bit at a time here. Ooh. Well, I found a good dry spot for the kayak over there. Just gonna move the rest of my stuff up there and get camp set up, man. I am tired after this one. But just look at that sky out there. That looks wild, man. Well, you know what? One way or another, we made it. Might not be what I originally planned, but sure still feels great to make it here. I can see the lighthouse out there. The sound of these waves is really nice. Now we should be on a nice safe spot on this rock here. It should stay high and dry, but I still am gonna keep my eye out for high tide tonight. Well, I got all my gear staged in the kayak here because there's just so much bird poop everywhere. I'm not letting my gear touch the ground. I will make an exception for the table and chair though, because we do need a place to sit and eat. This spot's looking pretty flat and actually not a lot of bird poop here, so. You know, it really wasn't working out today with the original plan. I could have just easily packed up and went home, but, well, the lighthouse would have been fun. Camping on an island, nearly just as good. All right, table's looking pretty good. Let's get a place to sit going. Let me just see here. Oh, this is perfect, right here. Just gonna sit down briefly here, try to get rehydrated. So much going on, I didn't even get to drink anything, and you know, it's important to stay hydrated, so. I have been looking around trying to find a spot for the tent, but that might be pretty tough on this rock here. There is almost no flat ground here. Now that I'm nice and hydrated, let's find a spot for the tent. Throw all my gear in there so it doesn't get soaking wet from all this moisture. Well, it didn't take too long. Right here we got a nice flat spot. It's not the cleanest, but that's why we're sleeping in the tent. And we're not too far away from the kayak and all the gear. It's just right over there where you see the light. Wind is so strong right now, I'm gonna have to be really careful this tent doesn't blow away. Oh, like that. Now, I am ready to eat. I was starting to get everything set up here for dinner. Had this whole elaborate meal planned for tonight, but I don't know if you've ever had one of those nights where you just feel exhausted, like just after everything that went down, man, I just cannot wait to get to bed. It's gonna be a really nice meal. It's a New England classic, and I think it'll be just as good for breakfast. So I'm gonna look forward to that. I think I'm just gonna scarf down some trail mix right now and call it a night. I cannot wait to get in my sleeping bag.
Feels so good to be laying in bed now. I am looking forward to waking up well rested and having that breakfast, man. That is gonna be so good. Well, I'll see y'all in the morning. Good night. Good morning. Felt so good to get to sleep last night. Normally I run better off 6 to 7 hours of sleep, but I ended up sleeping in, got a full 8 hours, and I think I really needed it this time. I'd probably rate the sleep about a 7 out of 10. Only thing that did kind of get to me was how loud the waves were. I'm not used to ocean waves crashing so close to where I'm sleeping. Like sometimes it sounded like it was right outside the tent, but I did go out and look and it was still kind of a ways off, but it just sounded a lot closer than what it was. But I'm feeling so refreshed, so ready to start my day here. Well, let's see what we got going on outside. I think it's gonna be a beautiful day today. What a nice calm morning out here today. Really cool formation here. Got plenty of fishing boats out there doing their thing. Got some people rowing out there. And there is the lighthouse. Now just imagine if we woke up on that, man. I feel like I'd be wanting to leave kind of soon. But out here, I think I'm gonna take my time. For breakfast, we're gonna have a traditional New England meal that up until recently I had never even heard about. It's canned brown bread. That's right, it's bread in a can. We're gonna heat that up in the skillet over some butter. And it's also traditional to have it with baked beans and hot dogs. Something I would have never thought about myself, but we're gonna give it a try. I never would have thought about canned bread being any good. Just thought maybe that's some kind of prepper meal. And sticking with the tradition, we are right outside of Boston, so we're having some Boston's best baked beans. Gonna use the can opener on my multi-tool to get this open. Now I'm not gonna make the entire thing. I'll probably just use half of the baked beans and half of the bread. Have some more later. This should heat up pretty quickly because this is a powerful stove and this is a titanium backpacking pot. Conducts heat really well. That does mean you gotta keep stirring though, because anything on the bottom will burn if you let it sit there. All right, these seem like they're nice and hot. Hot dogs we're gonna be heating up today are also local. They're from right here in Massachusetts. I think traditionally for this meal you are supposed to boil the hot dogs, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna roast them over the fire here. This is kind of fun. Wind is really starting to pick up here. I'm gonna get this diced up and put it over the baked beans. There we go. And now the part I've been looking forward to, this canned brown bread. Instructions say to remove both ends of the can and then to gently push out the loaf with a spoon if necessary. Smells like some good bread. Let's see if it'll just come out without removing both ends. Nope, I think we're gonna have to take the other side off. All right, let's get this out of here. There it is. Gotta say, it doesn't really look particularly appetizing, but somehow I still think it's gonna be good. Now, you are supposed to fry this over some butter, but I want to try a slice straight out of the can first. It's really not bad. Kind of a nice sweetness to it, good texture. This is really good for bread in a can, I gotta say. I'm gonna get a few of these sliced up, get it frying over some butter. All right, let's get this bread going here. That's perfect. The 2 slices of bread just barely fit in this pan here. Oh, the bread smells so good heating up over the butter here. All right, I think that's good. And there it is, a classic New England meal. All right, I got a good bite with all the different elements here. Let's give it a try. It all just works. That's really good. Got the sweet and savory baked beans, hot dogs mixing in there, and top it off with that bread. It's a lot of good elements working together there. I can totally understand why this is a thing. What a great meal for camping too. Like, this was so packable, pretty easy to make. This is what I needed last night, but I was too tired to make. I want to give a quick shout out to Sam and Maddie. I was just hanging out in Hingham, Massachusetts here. It's a little suburb of Boston. All of a sudden someone pulls up next to me, gets out of their car and says, "Excuse me, but we watch your videos." And I'm like, what are the chances of that? They were a really friendly and cute couple. Definitely appreciate you stopping and talking to me. That was such a blessing. It's really meaningful to know that my content is going out to y'all and you're appreciating it, you're enjoying it. So yeah, if any of you happen to recognize me out in public and want to stop and say hi, feel free. I do not bite. I just think it's so special to be able to meet a viewer out there, and it means a lot. So the next stop on the road trip here is going to be Maine. I know on the way up to Maine, we're actually cutting through a small little sliver of New Hampshire along the coast, but for New Hampshire, I got something planned for up north, so that was good. I feel like I could actually eat a whole nother plate of that. Look, we've got this giant tide pool here. How cool. Look at all the little oxygen bubbles trapped in there. I just love the deep red of all this stone underwater here. It's almost brick red. Can someone tell me, are these the ones that are edible right here? Not gonna take a chance right now, but that would be fun if I could forage some stuff here. Wow, all this grass is so pretty. This just feels like a little oasis out here. This is so cool. What in the world, man? Everything here is coated in pink. If anyone knows what that's about, let me know. That's really interesting. I just think it's so cool how from the water this just looks like a cluster of rocks, pretty barren and not much going on, but when you look a little bit closer, it is literally a whole ecosystem here. There's so many different little intricacies and just things to explore. I'm almost kind of glad the lighthouse didn't work out because we wouldn't have gotten to see this little environment here. You know, this trip ended up being pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed when the lighthouse didn't work out, but ended up being a really cool trip. I think there are some takeaways from this trip. You know, if something isn't going as planned, are you gonna give up or are you gonna make the most of it? You know, also it's good to have a backup plan. This ended up being such a cool little spot to check out.
However, I do still have an unmet desire to camp at a lighthouse, so whether or not that's gonna happen on this road trip or another one, it's gonna happen. I have always liked being on the road, exploring, adventuring. So if it ends up working out with this channel, you will see me on the road a lot. I could see myself traveling at least 6 months out of each year. There's gonna be a lot of exploring to do. All right, all my gear is pretty much good to go here. Got my trash packed. I did take a look around the island here to see if there was any trash I could pick up, but it's basically spotless, which is pretty cool. Time to make the long trek down the rocks now. No, I'm just kidding, we don't have to because it's high tide. I think we're gonna launch from this big tide pool right here and then just follow it on out. Should be fun and easy. Wow, that was so much easier. Good to go. This is cool, man. You know, by the initial plans not working out, I think this trip actually ended up working out better. Sometimes it pays to be flexible and just go with the flow. Well, until the next one.